Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Renner, and today I am here with the Chief Value Creator of Winterborn and the co-creator of Studio Boss, Nick D. And you're going to find out today how he got started in martial arts. You're going to hear some crazy stories about jumping from one organization or one part of martial arts to the next, whether it's like a school or a professional organization. So you're going to want to listen to this whole thing. And also he has some big changes coming up to Studio Boss. So you're going to want to listen to the end because this guy is a marketing genius and really a marketing, like a lead marketing mind within the martial arts industry that I've known for a long time. So, and I know we haven't really gotten a chance to like speak a lot, but I've seen you a lot, like, online. I know my brother's talked about you. So I'm really excited to have you here. Thanks for coming, Nick.
Thank you so much. Great introduction. You made me sound really good.
My pleasure. I know when you came in today, our podcast studio is in Philadelphia, and you said you lived in Philly, but you moved. And so tell us, like, why'd you move from Philly?
Oh man, that's definitely a great story to start. Well, I'm originally from South Philadelphia.
Okay.
And I love it. Like it's in my blood, Rocky. I watched that in 1977 with my grandfather right in South Philly. So, and then I moved to Jersey. My mother, she was from the city, obviously, Philadelphia too. And then we moved to New Jersey and about fourth grade. And so then I ended up going to Philadelphia University, Philadelphia Textile. Mm-hmm. This is how I got into martial arts actually. And I was at a party and this bouncer was showing everybody these moves of techniques with wrist locks and arm grabs and stuff like that.
What party were you at where there was a bouncer? In a club?
No, it was just Philadelphia Textile was an incredible experience. It was first of all, it was there was this one girls dorm, and then there was another co-ed dorm. So it was very, very small. It was like a suitcase college, they called it.
Okay.
So I thought it was gonna be great, all these parties and everything. And then I remember the first or second Friday night or whatever it was the weekend. And it was me and about 9 dudes just sitting in a dorm. And I'm like, and I'm like, yo guys, what are we doing? And they're like, well, we need to find some girls.
Yeah.
And so literally I remember, and this all ties into everything because really it's you say marketer. I really believe what I am is I'm a gatherer of people.
Yeah.
I love bringing people together, So what I did was I went out, I went to the girls' dorm. I knocked on the buzzer or whatever it was. They let me in. And I went down all the rooms were open. I said, hey, we're having a party. Come over. Hey, we're having a party. Hey, I'm Nick. It was just very, nonchalant and just yo, you want to come?
Put yourself out there.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Put yourself out there. And and I did. And then again, I met the bouncer on this party. It was several parties later. I met this good guy and I see him doing all these moves, these Kempo moves, which wrap around, wrist crossing talon.
Yeah.
These are self-defense tactics. And he did it on me. And I have to say, immediately I was just hooked. As soon as he showed me these tactics, because I'm watching Steven Seagal as a kid and all these movies, but I never really did karate that much. I wasn't really into it, but I was really into these tactics. And then he said, it's called Kempo. And this was how I dropped out of college. So I literally stopped going to classes and I was literally addicted going to AmeriKick in Roxborough. I forget the name of it. I was skipping class, going to karate classes. That's how it happened. And then anyway, long story short, after, raising my family in New Jersey, we moved to New York. This was a couple years, about 10 years ago. And then we moved back to Philadelphia. So I'm trying to get to the story. So we moved back to Philadelphia.
Wait, can I go back for a second?
Yeah, please.
So you dropped out of college essentially to go train in martial arts. To go train karate.
Oh,
was there other reasons? I feel like you're not because it sounds like you were a marketer of getting girls to parties, but now you're telling me oh, I went to this other guy who's a bouncer. He showed me some moves, and I started doing karate all day, and I dropped out. What? Is there something else in there?
There is definitely something else in there. You're calling me out on it. I love it. So what happened was, this is kind of funny. When I was a textile, I also lived on the same floor as the basketball team.
Okay.
And if you're familiar with anyone who plays basketball, most of them love to smoke. They love smoking marijuana.
Yeah.
Well, I was the hookup.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I literally got involved in the wrong things.
Yeah.
Right. And I started realizing that I could make a lot more money doing that than going to college, honestly.
Okay. I got it.
Really. Seriously.
Yeah.
And the bouncer that I told you about, this is where it gets really interesting though. The bouncer I told you about, when I met him, I was kind of failing out of school, you know? And I was doing the other things I was telling you about.
Yeah.
The reason why I got into martial arts was because I was involved with the wrong people. with this stuff I was doing with just marijuana, nothing crazy.
Yeah, selling pot to basketball players.
You know what I mean?
Got it.
Well, I was a little more than that, but we'll stop there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But point was that I got involved with the wrong people in that crowd. You know what I mean? And when I decided that I wanted to just not have anything to do with it anymore, this is South Philly crew.
Yeah.
They tried to act like I was in the mafia. Now my last name's Doherty. So I was like, yo guys, listen, like I'm out.
Yeah.
But these people really did not want to let me out. They really didn't. And the long story short was when I literally, tried to get out of this situation and tell them that I was out, I was like chased by several cars, like going across the bridge, and they were trying to they were not letting me out of this thing. It was bizarre. And
they're trying to beat the crap out of you, or they're trying to rob you? Like,
no, they really believed they were like, seriously, like there was like some kind of like family, this mafioso like family, like some of them might've been connected at some point. But when I told them I wanted nothing to do with it, they did not take it right. Here's the problem. They think you're going to rat them out. Like anyone that's in the game, in that type of game, that is the game, because it's like you think that your best friend. It's just no. It wasn't something I was proud of, but interestingly enough, it is marketing. You talk about marketing, like when you are selling drugs or selling weed. I mean, look at Jay-Z. I mean, it's not only just people that are selling weed. He's selling kilos of coke. Yeah. I mean, you have so many other factors that you have to watch out for than just getting a job. That you have to worry about the cops. You have to worry about people ratting you out. You have to worry about people that are trying to steal from you. That you're having to measure a lot of different things constantly. And I love that, because that's when I think that skill from the street has helped me tremendously in business. Like I just know when it's time to get on or move or basically readjust where I'm at. And I know we're going to talk about that a lot of times throughout my career. Like, I think that a lot of people are scared. I'm not scared to move. Like, I told you before we started talking, like, I'm not going to be in a relationship just because of money. Like, if I don't believe in your values, if I don't believe who you are, if I don't trust you, it's like, I'm not staying around because I have a contract with you. I will get out of it, buy out of it. I will be done with it. I won't do it because of money. Okay. So, and a lot of that. So
to get back to where you college, you drop out of college, first of all, for textile, I'm not sure what that means exactly. Can you tell me what textile means?
Yeah, great question. Textile is like clothing tiles. Like it was a fashion merchandising school. Okay. I was going for accounting. Okay, but there's really the main reason why people went there is they would have their textile factories, and they would learn how to create fabrics and create like clothing.
So why did you go there for accounting?
Oh, because it was a beautiful. Oh, have you seen a textile? Oh, it is the most. It is beautiful women for sure. Okay. Incredible campus. Okay. Just like it is just gorgeous.
So it's like fashion design. So they had hot women there.
Yeah, hot women. The artist. I was always, like we talked earlier. Like I've always been into art, drawing, and my father. It's interesting enough. Jim Solano, who was at the time the agent for Clyde Simmons, Reggie White, Jerome Brown, the best Eagles. Yeah. He was the accounting teacher at Philadelphia University. My father was very good friends with him. Oh, I always got tickets. I always met those players. So he kind of like was telling my dad all the time, you should tell him to come here. And when I went there, I was either there or St. Joe's. Like I really wanted to stay. I really don't want to go to California or like far away. Like, so those are the two places I applied and I got into. I came from a very small prep school. So I was either St. Joe's or textile. And I really just like it's interesting. We're here in this, where you are doing this podcast, very similar, very artsy. And that's really what I'm not a normal type of person. I don't like to, I like art.
It's funny because until we talked today, I would have never known that. Like, I just see you as like, the guy who understands business marketing and gives it, or at least tells the martial arts community how to actually use it in their martial arts school, right? And it's not martial arts. I mean, your niche is martial arts marketing, right? But it's like marketing that can apply to most business, right?
It's the people business.
Yeah, the people business, right? But like hearing this other side of you, like really loves art. That's really what you wanted to do. It was really cool. So you got to kind of backtrack. So you got involved in martial arts. How old were you when you started doing that? So you're in college? You're like 19, 20?
I don't consider like when I did martial arts when I was younger, like I don't really consider that like I was forced to do it because I was having trouble in school. Okay. Focusing. Like I have severe ADHD. Like I know I always did. I don't like rules. I don't like sitting. Like I don't like classrooms. I never did excel well in school. I was more of a thinker. And like I always like to like create and draw. And like, that's what I like to do. So
so you did karate before
Yeah,
college?
I did. So when
And
I
then
was,
you went back after college when you saw the bodyguard doing wrist locks.
I was getting in trouble. I was having some challenges because I knew that the people that I wanted to get away from, these weren't normal people.
Yeah.
Like, so I knew that if it came, listen, if you're not from South Philly, it's very different than the suburbs. You can't run.
Yeah.
There's like, if someone is coming after you, they're going to get you.
Streets are small.
You know what I'm saying? The street,
Yeah.
and it's just the way South Philly is.
Yeah.
So like when I knew that I had to like learn how to defend myself because I might have to defend myself.
Yeah.
I really wanted to know how to defend myself.
Right.
And this guy, at the timing of it was just impeccable because I'm like, wow, I really need this. And then what really hooked me was I started going to Andorra. So it was American Andorra, and they started sparring. And then when I got into sparring, that was when I was obsessed. I was like, this was like, I just loved it. I also, when I was a textile, I played soccer the first year. I made it as a walk-on. It was Division I. And one of the most brutal things anyone ever said to me, the coach said to me, he pronounced my name wrong. Didn't even know my name. And he's like, Dougherty? I'm like, Dougherty. He's like, you're never going to play. But he made the team. And I said, never? He's like, ever. He goes, but you'll be a great practice player. That was another devastating like thing for me, for my confidence, because yeah, like I just was like, I remember I told you I came from a prep school. It was we were number 1 in South Jersey, state champions my senior year.
In soccer. You're talking about.
Yeah. And
so that was a hit to the gut. You're not going to play.
And my coach told me, like, I never, like, in high school, like, I didn't want to practice. Like, I just wanted to play. I really want to play all year round. Like, I don't know. I never really, I wasn't into it that much, but I loved the team and I loved the people I was with. But I was athletic enough to at least make the team, but I didn't play. I knew I needed to do something else. Like, that's why I thought karate was it was right there, man. It was just all worked together.
So at what point did you transition from karate student to being involved professionally?
That's a great question. So here's the story for you. So I go to my first martial arts tournament. You might have been there. It was Amerikick Cheltenham. It was the Cheltenham tournament in Amerikick. And I did pretty well. My sensei just tells me side kick and back knuckle. That's it. Front leg, side kick, back. That's all I want you to do. And
for sparring.
That's it. Point sparring. Yes. Point sparring.
Yeah. Front leg, side kick, back knuckle is like bread and butter.
I was only an orange belt.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, whatever. So I was happy. I took my first tournament. I was like shocked. And oh my God, this is even funnier. The bouncer that I told you about.
Yeah.
He drove with us to the tournament. Now we're the same rank. He tells the girl that's in the car that we're driving with, he's like, hey honey, listen, don't worry. I'm going to the finals. So don't worry. Nick will probably get knocked out the first round. He got knocked out the first round. I won his division.
That's so funny.
Yes, that was funny. So that I forgot that one, but that's what happened.
So how did we get involved professionally? So you started
So the next tournament I went to, I didn't do so well, right? And this guy with American flag pants that looked like a bodybuilder, I guess, like, they were baggy and he just looked
Isn't
like.
that what everyone wore?
It was back then.
Yeah, that was like the style. Like, you're like the cool kid if you have the American flag.
He did.
Big baggy pants.
And he was giving me these tips, like after I lost. Yeah, he was just telling me all the things I was doing wrong.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and you go to Amerikick, which one do you go to? And I told him where. And he goes, why don't you come and fight with us? He's like, you're pretty good. He's like, but I think that if you really like tournaments, you should come fight with us. I'm like, where's that at? And he's like, at Del Ran. So I was like, okay. So I have no idea where I'm going. And now these people.
Yeah.
So I'm an orange, but I'm sorry, purple belt now. Purple belt. So I go to Del Ran and I walk in and it's Mark Russo, Nick Perdun, Chris Malares, and Justin Smith. And I'm a purple belt, right? Justin, I hope he listens to this. I think that day, the first time we sparred, I think he cracked my rib. It was jump spin back kick. And that was the best, like that again, like that was incredible because here I am at purple belt and those guys, they're the best martial artists in that entire organization. You know what I mean? And that was great because like everyone that I fought all the time, like Chris Malares, Nick, like they were so much better than me. But they were so much better than me. But then when I would fight the people that were brown belts or whatever belts, I was destroying them. Right. So anyway, that's what I did. So Mark
because
Russo,
you were used to working with competition, that was just so much better.
Yeah. I mean, like Mark. My point was Mark took me under his wing. He asked me to go train with them. That's what hooked me. And then he said, I'm opening a school. He's like, you'd be great as an instructor. He's like, let me groom you and to be an instructor for me. So that I was training at Del Ran before Marlton opened Mark. So Mark Russo opened Marlton. That was his first school. And by the time, he opened it, I was now like a green belt with like 3 stripes or whatever it was. And then Mark opened Marlton. I went with Mark.
What were you thinking though? Because like at this time, you're a martial artist and you love fighting, this point sparring and all that. But now they're asking you to be a great teacher. Were you like, oh, damn, that sounds awesome? Or were you like, that's not what I want to do.
I thought I was so honored.
Okay.
I just was like, I remember that so well. Like when it was like, I really, hadn't had any, I was really having obviously some challenges. Like here I am dropping out of college, and then same thing. Next, I'm getting involved with street activities and then I was really, that was the thing, like getting away from all that. And then like, like having someone that was like, hey, listen, I think you'd be a good instructor. Like the timing for me was like, I was like so shocked, and the thing was though, when I was like working at or helping out at Delran to get ready, I almost didn't make it because like Justin was so young and I was going there, like helping swatting as they call it, SWAT help, you know what I mean? And I really wasn't being utilized and like I wasn't learning anything. And then that was when I was really, really close to just quitting, like maybe not tournaments and fighting, but like working. Like I was getting no direction, like in my opinion, from the people that were there. And it was just like, if I'm here, like, I don't care. Maybe take the trash out. I think that's the only thing they made me do was take the trash out. I wasn't getting, you know what I mean? So Mark kind of sensed it. And I remember like, it was like, so we as soon as he got the keys, I was now done working at Delran and I helped him open up Marlton from the beginning. Like the day he opened he got the keys. And that was an incredible experience. Like when you could like get in with someone before they open, like that journey was just, it was so valuable. Like, because I saw what he did from the day one.
Very cool. So when you open up the school with him, how old were you at the time?
21.
21. Wow.
Yeah.
So what did your parents think of that? Like you dropped out of school, you're doing karate and some bad shit. And now like you're opening up a karate school. Like what was there?
Matt, it's like you have like ESP. My mom was devastated when I quit school and I told her that I was doing martial arts. So this is another good story. So what happened was I came home one night. This was like, I just started working for Mark, maybe a month, I don't know, something like that. And it was really weird. It was like dark. It was like 11:30 at night. And I'm like, the lights are on and that's never happened in my house. They're usually sleeping. So I'm like, I know I'm in trouble. That's basically, I know like that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
You can just sense it as like a kid, like you said, the spidey sense of like, oh, I'm going to get yelled at.
I just know that when I'm usually late or it's like late at night and my parents are up, it's going to be pretty bad, or something. So anyway, I remember like my mom was really calm and she goes, Nick, we need to talk to you. And I was just like, okay, what's up? And she goes, just sit down. And then my dad's sitting like where he always sits on the kitchen table. And she's like, we just can't have you around your sister anymore. We can't. Like it's too much. Like,
what's going on with your sister? Like, are you just setting a bad example?
I'll go into it. So, basically my sister was 7 years younger than me. So she's about 13, something like that. So when my mom said, we can't have you around here anymore. I was just like, okay. I said like, I guess I'll figure something out. And she's like, no, like you need to leave now. And I swear, I tell this story all the time because it was a really like an incredible moment. I remember for a split second, my stomach was absolutely just in shock. You know what I mean? Because I said like, it wasn't like, I was like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, and it was just like so devastating, but there was so many things that happened up to that point that were so bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like always like, things happening with yelling and like, all kinds of stuff. Like it had happened. So I knew she was serious, and so that was it. So I remember like, I just said, could I get my stuff? And I remember going up to my room and being like, what am I going to do? Like I'm not making anything for Mark. I'm making like 300 hours a week and I'm working. It's like, and then I'm thinking, where am I going to go? You know what I mean? So that was like just one of the worst, like walks up to my steps or up to my room. And I just got a bag and I put some clothes and whatever. I was like shocked. I got my stuff and I got in I had a Jeep at the time. And I really only had one person that I could think of that I can go see. And it was my friend, Nick. Of all things, his name was Nick. And so I remember there was no cell phones then. Now this is by the time he lived in South Philadelphia, by the way. So by the time I get there, it's, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I literally had to sleep in the car that night in the parking lot from where he lived because I couldn't, like, I couldn't call his house. Like it was like too late, like whatever. So I remember the next morning I saw him, and his mom was kind enough and said, that I could stay there. Right. So I basically just moved in with my friend Nick, because my mom basically was so disappointed in me becoming a karate instructor. My mom was the head of the law academy of her high school. My father was a federal agent for the government. My mom was a teacher
So
for
they
30
just
years.
thought you were going to be a karate loser, or it wasn't a real job? Like, what were they thinking? Why were they so disappointed?
They thought something was wrong with me. They didn't. My mom. I mean, like back then, if you told someone you're going to be a karate instructor, like it was almost like what are you thinking?
Yeah.
It was just, so it was that was tough, because also at that point, that was when I tell everybody that's when they cut me off, because I had a car, I had insurance, I had clothes, I had bills paid, I was a average middle class kid with most everything paid for. From that point forward, that was it. And that was like, people talk about hustle. When you have nowhere, when you're done and like you're 20 years old or 21 years old and like you have no one, there's no other option. Like you have to learn how to make it.
Sink or swim.
That's it. So I had no support. I was the first Christmas that I didn't see my parents, like, because we didn't talk. Like to me, I was like, there was no cell phones. I was just like, I really just focused on martial arts and karate, and I lived in South Philly. So I would drive, every day. And it wasn't until probably about, I think it was literally, I remember like my parents came to my black belt test, and I still didn't really have the support. Even when I opened my school, that was the first time when I finally opened my school, this like my own school, my mom had said that I proved her wrong. That was like literally 5 or 6 years later. She's like, you proved me wrong and I'm proud of you, and, it was like, and I think that that's the thing though. The lesson for everybody on that is that the things you really want to do that are best for you, most people in your life are going to tell you not to do them. Like I was following literally my heart. I knew that I loved this. I loved karate. Like, and then when I started teaching and like helping kids and doing tigers and dragons classes, I loved it. Like, I know some people don't care. They think dragons or little dragons or tiny. I loved doing the tiny tigers. I loved doing the little dragons. I love the demo team. I love people. I love intro lessons. I love trying to upgrade people to Black Belt Club. I love doing, I just loved it all. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I think that a lot of times, like, again, I'm sure so many people relate. Your mom's a teacher, your mom's this, your mom's that, but you're an artist or you're something else that's on a little more, not normal. You're going to either like just follow what they want you to do and be miserable when you're 40, and like questioning, like, what did I do this for someone else for? Or you might have to go through a little more crazy shit that I went through and just to follow what it's best for you. And,
So what point did you start making like real money? Because you're living on your own.
Yep.
You're, living in South Philly, but like, you have the school that's open. How many years did it take you to be like, oh, now I'm making like real good money?
Well, I think that even when I was working for Mark, I think we all know, like, most people don't make great money working as an instructor. You know what I mean? But the thing is that going back to the hustle of, selling drugs and having to make your own money all the time, I never looked at it like I didn't care what he paid me, because I looked at it as like, yeah, I got birthday parties. You know what I mean? I know I'll get tips on my birthday parties. I know people want to do private lessons with me.
Okay.
I know people they just want, like I did all the most weird, odd jobs from that martial arts school. I babysat some doctors' kids, like, and she paid me incredible. Like, they would go on crazy lavish vacations.
They would give you extra money for doing other things in the school besides just teaching class.
Yeah,
okay.
like I would never have made it. Like, here's the point. I could have, like, I could have begged Mark for more money. Like, if I just would have lived off of that and didn't do the extra hustles, I never would have been able to do it. I would have had to quit. Like, there was not even, like, it was barely enough to live. Okay. Like, one of my instructors that working for me, he like worked at the restaurant next door. Like, I was so bad off. He would literally like give me slices of pizza several times a week because they knew I didn't have the money. I had people giving me sneakers. Like, it was, but again, like, the hustling of the birthday parties, the sleepovers, the private lessons, like Robert Louis Christian Wayne Roberts, one of the most best salons in Marlton, Cherry Hill area, right? I was teaching kickboxing at the time. I trained that owner of that hair salon 3 days a week in the morning. So before I went for Mark, even though he was his kids came to the karate school, I was doing personal training with him. The guy who owns Gino Steaks, Gino, like the kid, like I did private lessons with him, like for stuff like that. So to me, like, it was just always in my blood. Like, it's just like just doing what everyone else is doing. Like, I'm always looking for the extras and the hustles and like the more. Like, it's like, that's just in my blood. Like, so when you say, when I start making money, so as soon as I opened my school, I started making money.
Okay.
I did 5,000 door hangers myself. Like, I'm not even kidding you. So I opened my school in Washington Township. I did 5,000 door hangers.
Like, you went around door to door and hung it. Okay.
Yep. And the best part about them was that it was in the summertime. It was like, my grand opening was in October. So we got possession in July. So the whole summer I was doing these door hangers and going out in front of supermarkets, giving out flyers, like the most guerrilla marketing things you can imagine. But the advantage of that was, even the door hangers, was that I was younger. I was great at talking to people. So when I was doing the door hangers, like, I brought a clipboard with me at the time, and like, I would just start talking to someone about, hey, it's okay, I'll give you this flyer. And then, what is it? I'm opening a martial arts school. Then we would start talking. Like, I remember, like, the first month I had 150 students, and there was no like paid trials and all sort of shit.
So you did some crazy guerrilla marketing in the beginning. So
Hustle,
that way when
man.
you opened, wow.
People call it whatever you want. I hustled my ass off.
Yeah.
Like, I went to door. I went outside of the supermarket. I had an appointment calendar with a pen, like, and I was relentless on calling and following up and making sure I got them to come in. And I gave them the best experience they could. I just know that, like, even when I did intro lessons for Mark, like, I just had a really good way of connecting with people, making them feel comfortable, like I did the same thing. And so the first, I forget what it was, my actual statistics, but to give you contrast, by the end of my first 5-year lease, like, I signed a 5-year lease, I bought the land and the building a mile down the road, like, with no help from no one.
Wow.
Like, I didn't get a loan from nobody. No one gave me a penny. I did that myself. Like, and that was, commercial loan for $550,000 within 5 years.
Wow.
And that was it. So, like, making money, honestly, like, I think that you have to not have any for a while, and then you figure out ways. That's really the best thing. That those experiences earlier on in my life, like, when I had to do it, what else do you do, man? Like, eat, you just don't eat food. I mean, like, you have to make money.
Yeah. And you just grind. I mean, I remember when I opened my first school, I was, I think 21 years old. So
Awesome.
I was, senior in college, and I was just like a frat boy, right, at the time. So just partying 4 days a week.
Where'd you go?
I went to Temple.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I, just partied all the time. And I didn't do as much martial arts at the time because the closest school was like 45 minutes away, and I'd go after classes. I'd get hit traffic. It was just, it didn't really work. So, but I never thought that I could be financially successful in martial arts, even though my brother had schools. I was making great money.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it, right? So I did all these internships because I was like, all right, if I want to make money, what do people do to make money? Well, they're attorneys or they're, doctors. Well, no way I'm going to be a doctor. So I'll be an attorney. Okay. And also, like, I watched like Mad Men, right? So like, like advertising was cool. So it's like, oh, maybe I'll do something in advertising or PR or something like that. Yeah. And I'm great at arguing, so that'll be good for me. So I got all these cool fancy internships downtown. And I was up in, like, the high rise, like the 29th floor, like One Liberty Plaza downtown. Yeah. And, wore a suit to work every day. I was at Merrill Lynch. Okay. Nice. So that's where I was interning at. And every day I'd walk in there, and I would assume everyone here's making buttloads of money. They're happy. First of all, they were not. Okay. You think they are. Some of them do. The top people do. Most of them do not. Most of them are in like a fishbowl where they work like crazy hours, don't make any money until eventually they burn out and they get fired. And everyone was like miserable. And I was like, all right, well, maybe I won't go into finance. I'll be an attorney. And so Temple sent me to a law convention. So they're like, hey, go to this law convention. There's going to be attorneys there. They'll talk to you about what it's like being an attorney. Cool. That sounds great. Yeah. So, I put on my suit. I go downtown, and pretty confident talking to people through martial arts from teaching karate classes, right? So I go up to this guy. I'm like, hey, man, like, what's up? Can you tell me a little bit more about, what it's like being an attorney? He turns to me and he goes, don't do it. I'm like, dude, what do you mean don't do it? I'm like a bright-eyed like kid. I'm like excited. He's like, don't do it. I'm overworked. I'm underpaid. I barely see my family. There's too many attorneys here. The market's oversaturated. He's like, you shouldn't do it. I was just like so blown away. I don't remember any of the conversation after that. I just remember that. And I remember like going home defeated, and then my brother sitting with me that Friday night at my parents' house for dinner, and we're talking about that conversation. He's like, you can make good money in martial arts. And I was like, okay, but that's like your thing. He's like, no, but you can like, he's like, what do you like? I'm like, well, I love fitness. I love kids. And like, you know, I love being around people. And he's like, that's all those things that happen in martial arts. And he went through some of the numbers with me. I'm like, wait, you can make 6 figures teaching martial arts? He's like, yeah, you can. If you're good at any business, first of all, you can make good money. It doesn't matter what the business is. You can be picking up trash. You're great at it. You can be a millionaire, right?
I agree.
And so at the time, I was like, it was like a snap decision for me. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do martial arts. That's fine. I know how to do it. Like I know how to teach classes. Like just show me how to run the business better. And I remember and we had this conversation, but my brother moves very fast. Right? Anyone who knows him knows he when he has an idea in his head, he wants it done 5 minutes ago. Right.
Love it.
So I was sitting in my apartment at Temple having a blast with my friends. We're having some drinks, playing FIFA, just hanging out, right? And my brother calls me and he's like, hey, we figured out the location. I want you to show up to this address and start knocking on doors. And I look outside, I'm like, it's dark, it's 7:00. And I'm like, what do you mean start knocking on doors? He's like, yeah, start telling people right now that you're gonna open up a school. I'm like, what's the location? He's like, well, we think we have the location. I'm not 100% sure, but it'll be that area for sure. And I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, go there now. And I'm like, all right. So I chugged a bunch of water. I didn't tell him this, but I had to wait a couple hours. Okay. Probably an hour and a half. And I get in the car, drive there. I wasn't drunk or anything like that. I was just, had maybe 2 drinks or something. And I was like, all right, I gotta get out of here. So I drive down to the area and I just start knocking on doors. Literally, I didn't know where the address was. I didn't have flyers. I had nothing. And I went and with my partner at the time who helped me open the school, and we just knocked and we go, if someone answered, we go, hey, my name is Matt. I'm opening up a karate school in the area. I just want to let you know. And they're like, where is it? And I'd be like, it's Route 130 South something. And I'm like, let me get your information. This is in Cinnamon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. I'm like, all right, thanks. And I think I may have a clipboard to get their information. Yeah. But every interaction just helped me build up more confidence. I could literally just knock on someone's door and get clients that way. And today, what do people do? They just throw up a Facebook ad or just throw up a post and go, man, my area can't grow, right? Oh, my business doesn't grow. It's a bad area. Or people don't care about martial arts. People just want free stuff around here. It's bro, you got to get your hands dirty. You haven't done anything, man. All you do is throw up an ad or throw up a post and boost it and pray. You have to have that hustle, that grind that you have, right?
100%.
So at what point did you go, because I know you had martial arts schools, and at some point, I think you told me you had 700 students or something crazy.
Yeah, when I built the building, we built it because we needed it. I could not fit the students I had in a 3,500 square foot location with 1 floor. I couldn't do it. So our kids' classes, I think that, remember I was telling you, I love the Tigers, I love the Dragons. I really, honestly, if you want to have a massive school, that's the key, in my opinion. It's the farm system, so that's why, when I taught the Tigers, I just knew that if I got the Tigers to the Dragons and the Dragons to the kids, I have a great system.
So when you say farm system, what do you mean by that?
I mean, if you look at the baseball, right? It's you have AAA, single A, double A to get to the major leagues. You know what I mean? That's the farm. That's why they call it the farm system. And then if you get, the ones that make it, get to the kids class. It's the same thing. The Tigers and the Dragons. So if you have a Tiger that makes it all the way to the kids and to imagine to an adult, think about the retention of that customer. I mean, you're having someone from the time of 3 to 14 or 17. I mean, it's you're not so that I really have to claim. I have to thank Dennis Liebert, Justin Smith. Mark never really was into the tiny Tigers. I watched those guys do the Tigers, 30, 40 little Tigers, and Dragons, 50 Dragons with Dennis Liebert. And I loved his style. It was just he was him and a couple SWAT members, and he taught them all one thing, and everyone's focused, and I just loved it. I didn't do obstacle courses and games. I was more I really, again, if anyone ever saw Justin Smith or Dennis Liebert, I don't think Justin's teaching anymore, but Dennis Liebert is still doing it. His Tigers and Dragons classes are, in my opinion, it's just so engaging. The kids are, everyone, the parents are into it. It's not just obstacle courses or throwing balls. They're learning fucking martial arts. They have the look of a black belt at 6 years old or 5 years old. It's just, so I think that was the key, was that I had strong, immense like tigers and dragons per. I'm talking 140 dragons. If you have 50 tiny tigers, 140 little dragons, your kids' program better be big. I mean, because you have a great, pool to pull from as they go up.
As long as you have a great product, right? You have to have a great product.
And that's it. Like I believe that our classes were great, and I agree with you 100%. Like, and then we had our kids beginner, intermediate, and then with 3 different kids classes, which we had to break up every single night in 2 different training floors. That like our kids beginner class always had 60, 70 people on the mat every day. Maybe not Friday night. Intermediate, okay, was decent, and then the brown belt class, because they're there longer, 70, 80 kids on that mat, so you had to break it up. So we had 4 full-time instructors, not including myself. And I'm talking guys making 40, 50 grand. This was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It was not, here's the thing with that system, you mentioned the 700 person school. That is an anomaly. And if you think that it's scalable and you could duplicate it, the odds are stacked against you.
Yeah.
Like there's so imagine, like I said, 60, 70 tigers, 140 dragons, 70 of this other, beginners, right? White, yellow, and orange, another 80, whatever. Then you have 100. There's your math, not even including kickboxing or adults.
Right.
So that school was just incredible. It was just, seriously, it was an anomaly.
So how much money you bringing in a month at that time?
70, averaging 70,000 a month. We were top 5 for Champions Way. That was how I got on Freed's radar. Because there was me and John Malik did the first webinar ever for the martial arts. Like it was resourceful marketing. I did the first webinar ever for Champions Way. It was resourceful marketing, and it was the kind of all the stuff we're talking about. Like I wasn't talking about ads or talking about doing front pages of the Clipper. I was talking about flyers and and school systems, and then same thing, women's groups and referrals, and just doing flyers, and birthday parties are what built that school. Like we had 4 birthday parties every single weekend. Every single weekend there was 4 birthday parties. And the most important thing was I come on a Monday morning, they knew I wanted the sheets. I wanted to see where their name, address, email, and then, are you interested in martial arts? Yes. And that Monday we were on the call and we're booking them. That is so much better than running ads. They were already in there. They already had a good experience, hopefully, right? And now you're just inviting them in. And then there's 6 weeks for $99. I took away all the pressure. That was a special that ran that school. To me, I didn't have to train my staff on overcoming sales objections and all the shit that I had to go through. It was as simple as, listen, it's 6 weeks for $99. After that, it's like $150 a month. That was it. So you have 6 weeks to try it out. But yeah, so we averaged 70,000 a month. I mean, on average.
That time, you're you went from having literally zero money to flowing in cash. So were you hitting up the slots in Vegas? What are you doing with that money?
My dad unfortunately he was a gambler. Yeah. And he was also an alcoholic. So I promised my mom that I would never gamble. And I never, if you ask anyone, they've never seen me drunk because I don't drink. Okay. I don't drink. No. So,
yeah, I think that's pretty common for people who have parents who are alcoholics. Either A, become an alcoholic themselves, or B, they don't touch it ever. You know what I mean? It's I don't get anywhere near. I have friends in a similar situation. So then when did you go from eventually, because you hopped around a lot. One of the things I think admire about you, and I'm kind of starting to sense a pattern in your story, is that you put yourself in a room with other people who would know way more than you or way better than you, and then you just level up because you're with 100%. Them. So you were running the school, and then you started, for someone who doesn't know what Champions Way is, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, this was great. As I was building that school, I was always looking for advantages of marketing, right? So that's why I connected with Champions Way. They had this program called Mr. Marketer, and I'm sure most people that are hearing this have used it. All it really was text message and email marketing, and with postcards that were automatic, you were able to automate them. Yeah. And he was doing this 15, 16 years ago. Yeah. So when I first got onto that, and this is really important for everybody to hear. So when I first got Champions Way, it was called MASS, Martial Arts Standard, that's what it was called. It was like a CD and whatever. I didn't use it for the first 60 to 90 days, and I tried to cancel. Right. Because I was just I didn't open it up. I didn't use it. So I just tried to cancel. Well, John Malik, who, if anyone doesn't know John Malik, he is the reason, one of the major reasons where I credit him so much. He was amazing for Champions Way. He was an incredible person. And he's still doing other things, but Yeah, he basically. I lost my train of thought here.
That's okay. So you were talking about how you got
Oh
involved.
yeah, I tried to cancel.
Yeah.
And John Malick got on the phone with me, and he got my attention. He basically said to me, he goes, "You sound like a really smart guy, but you're about to do the dumbest thing ever for your business." And I was annoyed. I was pissed off that he said that to me. You know, we're all ego martial arts guys, whatever. And I was just like, yo, dude, do you know, I don't think you understand. I don't need this shit.
Yeah.
And he goes, I didn't say you need it, Nick. He's like, I just said it'll be a bad decision for you for the future of your business. He's like, I'll tell you what. And he was incredible. He goes, just give me 30 days to show you how to use it. He's like, would you do that for me? And then decide? I was like, you know what, man, I will. Like, I liked how he called me out.
Yeah.
And so I did. And I have to say, in that 30 days where John Malick helped me, I realized how behind I was with marketing, how, like, besides hustle, right? It's like marketing. Like, he was showing me triggers, automations. He was showing me things back then that no one was talking about. And I just, that was a turning point in my life, because that was what then eventually I started working with Champions Way. So what happened was I started using it in conjunction with everything else I was doing. And people would always ask me, what do you use? Champions Way. So then they started using me as a referral. So now, like, John Malick and his sales team, there's about 7 guys that worked at Champions Way. There was a 7-team sales agency that worked for them in Vancouver, British Columbia. Literally, they all wanted to use Sensei Nick. So I have a guy that I'm doing a tour with. Can I bring Sensei Nick on? That was my term back then. They just called me Sensei Nick. So they knew that I had the credibility because I had the school to back it up. There's a lot of people out there that don't have shit to back nothing up.
Yeah, they're just,
you know what I mean? It's like, I don't even teach anymore. I still have a building. I rent it to my nephew has a great Muay Thai academy, but it's like, so many people like out there in our industry as a whole, their conversation, it's like, you never did shit. And you're teaching people how to do it. You know, so they love that because Champions Way, remember, Freed's a world champion kickboxer. So he's not going to get behind someone that's not fucking doing it. Yeah. So they knew that I was doing the numbers. They saw my numbers, and that's what they started doing. So they started using me as a referral for a school owner. So I talked to thousands, not hundreds, over 2,000 schools I've spoken to and have sold them Champions Way. Like over a 15-year period. There's probably almost no one I didn't talk to. I mean, it was just over the years. So that was what happened. And then with Champions Way, what ended up happening was I got it more and more with like doing webinars on marketing and social media and just basically educating people on blogging, like explaining to them how the search engines work with that. Like the social media was really big. I was explaining like how, that could optimize your page by having dynamic content. That was really what we did with Champions Way. We're showing them how to use like automation,
Is this a software or is it a consulting agency?
Oh, no, it's a software.
Software, okay.
So it's called Mass. So Champions Way was called, everyone was on this call that's probably been in the business for 20 years. No. They had Mass. Yeah. It was a CD with Freed's picture on it. And it said Martial Arts Standard. That was the name of his software. And then he built Perfect Mind, which was a total, oh man, that was a lot. Like when he shifted, like it's like, and I understand a lot more of that now. Like we've shifted so many times with software. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. Yeah. So then he built Perfect Mind. So long story short, Champions Way, eventually Freed. This is a good story. Let me tell you this one. So now I am like the head consultant for Champions Way. I have a very good relationship. I'm going to Vancouver a couple times a year. Freed approached me and wanted me to move to Vancouver and be his partner. And like I accepted the job or the position or the partnership, whatever it was. And when I was going home that night to Philadelphia or to New Jersey, flying into Philly, I was at the airport and I started crying. Like my wife knew all about it. Like she was supportive of it. And she's like, what's up? What are you doing? Like, what's wrong? I said, who am I kidding? I can't do this. I said, I can't, how am I going to live in Vancouver? She goes, but you have this amazing opportunity. Like, because at this point now, this is like, several years later, I have 2 locations. And honestly, like when I said this, the school was an anomaly, the one that I built, the second one was not like the first one. And I didn't expect it to be, it was over. But this is very important for everybody to hear. I have thousands of martial arts school owners that want to pay me to teach them what to do. Or I could come into a karate school, tell the same instructors the same things again and again and again, right? And I have to pay them. To me, it was just like, no, thank you. Like I could have opened more locations, right? But that was really the thing. It was like, I don't really think that that most of the guys, even some of the guys that I had were really good. I think that the majority of them wanted what I had, but they never wanted to put the work in that I did. So you mentioned when I had 700 students, I went on vacations that were insane. Like that's where I spent my money. Like I had a nice house and we had Nicole did whatever, kind of whatever we really wanted, but we went on some of the most insane vacations that I don't think half the people in the martial arts never went on. Like we really enjoyed ourselves with that. So that was the big shift for me, was like, I realized like, I'm not made up for, like, I want someone that's going to come to me that says, tell me what to do. But versus the other one where it's like, okay, let me show you how to do this again while I pay you. And you keep fucking up and I got to keep showing you how to do it. And then you're always wanting to be like me, but you don't want to do like I do. I ran that school like a fucking machine. If you want to have a school that's having 700 students, like seriously, anyone's going to tell you that it's not like personality based, they're fucking lying. Like you're not going to have 700 people and never be there. It's just not going to happen. Like when I say it's a machine, I'm there by 9 o'clock every day, 8:30, whatever. And I'm leaving 8 o'clock at night. I didn't see my kids, my stepkids, whatever, but either way, like I did not see them. That was my arrangement with my wife.
Well, so the funny thing is that in terms of consulting and helping other schools, like, that's what I do, right? So other schools will hire me and I don't have an agency. I don't run ads. I don't have a software. I just showed them how to grow their school organically through partnerships with schools and daycares and businesses. And I tell them before we start, I always make sure they understand this is going to be work. This is not going to be me running Facebook ads. It's not going to be SEO. I do none of the work. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to help you along the way. And you're going to need about 3 to 4 hours a week of work per week in order to do this. But once you do it, it's kind of like digging a well. You're going to dig a well. Your hands are going to get dirty. You're going to be sweating your ass off. But once you dig that well and you create a partnership with the school and you know how to run a program and actually convert members from members of kids at school to members at your school, for us, we looked about a 1 to 3% conversion. For daycare, it's about 30 to 50%. So we know our numbers exactly. We know exactly how to do it. If you do that work, I guarantee you're going to get the result, but you have to do the work. Are you okay with that? This is before you even sign up.
Totally.
And they'll go, oh yeah, absolutely. Right. And I would say half the time we'll get people who come on board that start following right away. They're action takers. They start doing everything I'm telling them. They call and ask me questions. They're on it. And, a couple weeks later, they'll send me a text message or call and be like, I can't believe where my school's at. I never have to depend on ads again. Should you run ads? Absolutely. Right. For sure. You should run ads, right? If you have the money for it, awesome. But don't completely depend on it, because if it dries up,
100%,
you're done.
man.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And then the other half of people will, for a week and a half, 2 weeks, tell me a bunch of reasons it's not going to work. Hey, it's not going to work for this. Oh, my neighborhood is different. Oh, did you do the things I told you? Because it's funny, because like one of the things I realized I had to do was give them homework and actually write it out. So when I've done a call with them, I send them an email. Here's the 4 things I want you to do for your homework. And that way next week I can say, okay, how are we doing this one? How are we doing this one? And I'll be like, week after week, do we do this one? No. Here's a reason why. Do we do this one? No. Okay, well, I don't really have anything to tell you this week because you didn't do this week. Okay, I'm going to do it. And then what happens a couple weeks later? Yeah, I want to cancel. Can we cancel? I'm like, well, why do you want to cancel? This doesn't work for me. I'm like, you haven't even done anything, right? Like you haven't done the work.
Yeah.
So people, I think, have gotten just more like lazy because of the internet, maybe.
Totally agree with you, man.
And it's so frustrating because it's like, man, if you just did the work, I know you'd be successful. And it's like, you need to do it.
That's why we built software.
Yeah. To do it for people because people are lazy.
It's not even that. It's like, think of it this way. Like the consulting part, like you said, half of them will do it.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing that we thought was
half is like good in the industry.
I
by
agree
the
with
way.
you, man. Maybe,
half is like, I would say, and I don't say that to tell my own horn. Like what I'm saying is like, usually let's say you sign up for any consulting course. I've signed up for many myself. Like I'm sure you've signed up for things before, mastermind, stuff like that. Like most of the people who join it are not successful. And that's like the dark side that people will not share with you. Yeah. Like the last one I joined, I paid 15 grand for maybe for, it was like 4 months. Yeah. They didn't really do what they said they were going to do. When I asked for help, they're always like, oh yeah, someone will get to you in a couple of days, and never really would. And I just, there was, and no one ever tried to upgrade me or keep me when my contract was done. No one ever called me. No one was like, and I was so shocked because like this big company, and I was like, oh, I expected like, some follow through, and there really wasn't. So, I mean, some of that is for sure my fault. I have to take personal responsibility. But, like when it comes down to it, like, I think each time you join something, as long as you take one thing from it that you can learn and take to the next one, that's really important. So for you now, like you've talked to thousands of schools.
Yes.
What do you see most school owners do wrong? Like, where do you feel like they make the biggest mistakes?
I think that this is a way different answer than I would have given a couple years ago. The biggest mistake they make is with themselves. It's not like a tactic. It's like that's like, and that's interesting that we're kind of getting into this point now. I think that in the past 3 years, it's funny. Like we talk about Nick D, right? But if you look at it, I changed my Facebook page to Nick Joel, right? And that was because I literally believe that I transform. I don't like the Nick D that we've watched through hustle videos and whatever. Like, that's just not who I am anymore. That's not who I am anymore. You know what I mean? He's different. So and
I assumed some lady made you take their last name, and I was like, man,
so like Joel's my godfather's name.
Okay.
And he actually, but the point was that the reason why I think a little bit differently now is when I moved from New York to Philadelphia, I got into meditation. Joe Dispenza, and I really just got into Bradley Morris. He's another guy from Vancouver, but Joe Dispenza, I think that was a turning point in my life. And if anyone has not read the book, The Habit of How to Stop Being Yourself, I think that everyone would benefit from it. I think that no matter how successful you are, there's always rooms for improvement. And then Joe Dispenza, I started getting into meditation, and it was really bizarre because you would think that someone with ADD and ADHD would have a hard time, stopping and getting into meditation. It was the complete opposite. It was like I was made for it. Like it was just like the most incredible experiences I had when I started. And as I went through my own personal journey, because that's what it is, this incredible journey inside yourself. And you realize that it's like, oh my God, when you start the journey, it's just, it's never ending. Like it's never going to end. And when I during that period was like COVID and all this, all the other stuff was happening. So there was lots of time to meditate, and, there was lockdowns and all this. It was different. Right. And I think that what I did for myself was I healed a lot of pain, trauma, that from things that happened earlier in my life, my childhood. And when I read Joe Dispenza, it's a very deep book. Like, some people they'll say like, I can't focus enough to read it. That's the person that needs to read it. You know what I mean? It's like, and my point was that like, what do I think that the mistake they're making? I would say that one, they're never stopping to honor themselves every day, like for their meditation, like they're just going, whatever. They're never really fixing their real problems that are preventing them from they're the problem.
Yeah. It's usually like a personal issue.
Yeah. That's what I believe it is. I think that, and my mastermind this year, it's not as big as it's been in years past. I got my problem with my focus is it's so intense when I do something. So like I was studio boss for the past 16 months, like just that's it. Like everything else went, but I didn't market it. I didn't try to sell it. I just wasn't ready to, I wasn't the time. Like that's where I was at. So during that time though, the people that have been with me, they're just getting incredible results because that's what I'm helping them with. Like I'm helping these people with deeper issues, deeper challenges that they're just like, and it's interesting. Like when you help them with that, they're way talk about loyalty is such a funny word used in the martial arts, right? Like it's almost like, you have people crying to you. You have people saying like, yo, man, the shit that you like, and because the thing is, you can't do that for them. So that's sort of the part of it. Like you said, consulting, that's a part with this one too. I can lead them to what they need to do. I can give them the meditation. I can give them the books. But the best part about it is they got to do the work. And I let them know that. So like a lot of the guys and girls that I've helped this year have nothing to do with like an operations tactic or a marketing strategy or whatever. It was like, they're in their own head. They're overthinking. They're not taking action quick enough when they're trying to do something. They have all the ideas, but nothing's being done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that it wasn't really it was like helping them find out what's wrong with them. And it's like, some of them really enjoy it. And I think there were some people that were just like, this is like either not for me, you know what I mean? Or whatever. But the majority of them did. But a couple of people like were just like, hey man, like I just need it. Like you said it. I just want to work with the Facebook ads. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like they want just ads run for them.
Right.